Good morning, everybody. We're just going to start letting people onto the webinar, onto the Zoom call. Get everybody set up for the next couple minutes, and then we'll do a quick intro, and Coach Miller is going to take it from there. So thank you for joining. If somebody on the call could make sure they are hearing us okay, you can either write it in the chat box or give us a little thumbs up, hand up. Maureen, you're on. Oh, okay, cool. Looks like everybody can hear us pretty good. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Maureen. Hey, Wendell. Those are some familiar faces. Thanks for tuning in on the Saturday morning, everybody. Again, we're just going to take a couple minutes, let everybody get logged in, get their computers set, and then we'll have Coach start up probably about 11:02 Central Time. So give us 2 to 3 more minutes. I'm going to bring up a document in case any questions come through. Feel free to use the chat during the webinar, but we are going to have a Q&A session at the end for Coach as well. So if it's something that's not too pressing, you can hold that question to the end. That would be awesome. Where's everybody tuning in from today? Maybe you can write your state or your country in the chat box. It's always interesting to see. Richmond, Virginia. Oh yeah, our East Coast. Tennessee. Jackson, Mississippi. Awesome. New Orleans, Florida, Melbourne, Florida. Gosh, we're hitting all sorts of states. Anybody from our international crew on? Again, 2 more minutes. We'll let the rest of the attendees get signed in. VA and Tennessee. Hey, Tony. Coach, where are you calling in from today?
I am in Greenville, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Michigan. Gosh. Illinois. We might hit all 50 states. All right, 1 more minute, everybody, and we'll get started. Bear with us. Georgia. Any Wisconsinites on here? Texans? Those 2 I'm going to represent. I'll represent both of those states. Hopefully you got a good mix of parents, athletes, coaches, trainers today. Whether you're basketball specific or maybe you just get to work with some of those athletes. This is going to be a great opportunity for you. Texas, McKinney, Texas. Nice. I'm right outside Fort Worth, so welcome, Texas crew. All right, so the webinar is recording. We do want to let you know this recording. If you want to replay it, we will have this on the VertiMax app probably by the end of day. So under the events category, you'll be able to rewatch the presentation. Indonesia. Nice. Oh, wow. Hey, team. All right. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us today. This is our 3rd webinar that we've done virtually for our consumers, customers, trainers, coaches, whether you're VertiMax community, or maybe this is a different situation for you and brand new and you don't quite know about the equipment and you're just more on the basketball side of things. Welcome. We have Coach Tony Miller. He's calling in from South Carolina. He's the assistant basketball coach for the Bob Jones University Bruins. And we have him going through his training program and how he implements VertiMax equipment and then really preps his team for the season along with his in-season training. So a lot of great content today. We will have a Q&A at the very end. So if you have some questions throughout, feel free to write it in the chat box and I'll save some of those questions for later on. Or if you can just hold some of those for the end, we will make sure that we address any comments or questions that you have for him. So I'm going to jump off the screen and provide the mic and the visuals all to Coach Miller. And you guys are in good hands. So thank you again for joining us. And Coach Miller, it's all yours.
Appreciate it, Jesse. Appreciate all of you who have joining us today. Those of you who are watching live, and then all of you who are watching also on replay. When the VertiMax group reached out to me about doing something here at the start of the basketball season, I immediately said yes. As a matter of fact, what you're going to see today is something that I actually put together a while ago, and I was kind of wondering when I was going to present it and how exactly I was going to present it. So this is something that I care a lot about, and I'm thinking a lot about this part of the season, and I think it's something that you all will enjoy, and I hope will be a help to you and to your program. Like I said, it's something that I believe in. It's something that our team has used previously. Jesse mentioned I'm at Bob Jones, and it's something that we've used with our players year in and year out. It's really helped them on an individual level and also helped our program as a whole. I'll come back to that in just a minute here. Just by way of introduction, if you're watching this live or shortly thereafter, we're kind of approaching very quickly the preseason months for the basketball season. Our players in particular have been working out on their own. I'm sure a lot of your guys' teams have already started maybe doing some things together. And so now we're really kind of moving from that off-season phase where they hopefully have done a lot on their own with the materials that we've given them as coaches. And maybe some of your players has even worked with strength coach or trainer over the summer months. But now though, we're all thinking about getting them ready for the season. And that's really what this presentation is about. Obviously, it's only part of a bigger system that we have all in place. There's that cycle we all know of, like the season, then we go to the postseason and the off season, and now the preseason, and then we still started over again. So while a lot of what we're talking about has to do with the preseason and moving players into that start of the season, there's also elements to fit into that overall plan for developing players throughout the entire year. For me in particular, like this is a 4-year process usually with players coming in, maybe 5 if they stay an extra year. But we actually, as I'll show you a little bit later, we keep track of this information over the course of their 4 years here. And so it's something that we can see their development, they can see their development, and there's added benefits with that I'll mention as well. Before I get any further here, just real quickly, so you know where I'm coming from and who I am. My name is Tony Miller, and I'm on faculty at Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm on faculty in the exercise science and sport division, and I'm also the assistant coach there. I'm in my 10th season. This is our 10th year as a program, and so we're really right now in the process of transitioning into Division III, NCAA Division III, and so that will impact some of the things that you'll hear me talk about. But because of what I've done in the classroom and also on the court, what you're going to hear overall today is really just a combination of coaching with a little bit of exercise science sprinkled into it. As I mentioned, we're all thinking about the preseason here. I personally am thinking about what my players did in the off season. Under these D3 rules, I can't really do much with them before the season starts. So I'm excited to see what they've done when we have the opportunity to do some testing with them. And for obviously those that are at the college level, there's 2 areas really that complement each other well and go well into becoming an effective basketball player. And that has a lot to do with their physical talent, obviously their mental capabilities as well, but then also the skill that they have and that they've developed. So what does this have to do with really what you see in front of you? The fastest way for us to see what kind of physical improvement that our players have undergone in the offseason is to put them through something similar to what you see every summer with the NBA Combine. Those of you that maybe have watched that before on ESPN, you see the players going through all the workouts and going through the different testing that they have. We take about an hour and a half is all, not very long at all. We'll test our players and what you see there in front of you. So we'll do the 3/4 court sprint. We'll test their lane agility speed, their standing reach, and then also their vertical jump. So really I'm getting a sense when I'm testing them for what they've done in the off season, and of course, you know, over what they've done over the past year as well with us. and I'm able to see what their improvement is from a standpoint of what is their vertical, their linear, and also their lateral abilities here. So how do we do this exactly? I want to lead you through this because this is something that you can do with your program. And like I said, it doesn't take very long, but there are some benefits that I'll mention to you in a moment here that we've seen that has actually really improved what we do from a basketball perspective as well. And like I said, I'll get to that in a moment. So I have the diagrams up here so that you can set up something similar to this as well. As Jesse mentioned, this will be on the VertiMax app, so you can go back and watch this again if you don't get all the diagrams or whatever. But we'll test their linear speed first. This is that 3/4 court sprint. Just place 2 cones on the opposite free throw line, even with the opposite free throw line. They line up there on the baseline, and on their go, we start the stopwatch, and they basically get 3 opportunities. So they'll run it, we get their time, they go back when they're ready to go, they run it again, and then they run it a 3rd time there. And whatever their fastest time is, that's their 3/4 court sprint. So that's the first thing that we'll test. The second thing that we test with them is the lane agility. You set up your 4 cones around the perimeter there of the lane lines. They start on the baseline, so they'll sprint. That's the black arrow. They'll sprint up to the elbow. They'll lateral slide to the other elbow, back pedal, slide. We usually have them tap somebody's hand there on the baseline, and then they go back around. Those are the red arrows. So it goes slide, sprint, slide, and then back pedal. And again, they get 3 opportunities, 3 chances for this, and I write down their fastest time. So you have a combination there of just like short distance speed, their lateral speed, and then backwards backpedaling. We don't have them backpedal that much in a game, but and then they go lateral, sprint, lateral, and then backpedal again. Okay, the third one there, we'll test their reach. You can buy one of these. By the way, if you look closely at the slides, you can see the basically a picture of the guys doing this in the background. But we'll test their reach. You can buy one of those vertical challengers. They're probably one of, if not the most overpriced device that you can buy. So if you want to, you can maybe just measure it with a piece of tape that they stick up on the wall, or you can put chalk on their fingers and have them touch a wall outside or something like that and measure that. So a lot less expensive option there, but that's their standing reach. And then that factors in here to the final thing that we test their vertical leap. You can test this with, again, with that device, that vertical challenger that I showed you. And we do that either as a 3-step approach. So we call that our max vert. So it's basically left, right, left if you're one of the 1-foot jumpers. Or you can do, if you want to, just a straight vertical jump from a standing position. If you only feel like you have time for one, I would probably do the max 3-step. You know, outside of being maybe a big man that's standing underneath the basket, most players, they have a running approach when they jump with the basketball. So we test that max jump there. And then what we do is we'll take, this is the last thing there, once all that's done, we take those numbers and we insert them into this Excel spreadsheet. This may be one of those things that you're interested in. Usually when I talk to coaches about this kind of thing and I show them this is what everybody wants. So I have my email address at the end. You can reach out to me with this if you want something like this. This is something that I actually adapted and got from a Division I program that I'm familiar with here. And so we've adapted this to fit for our players and what we like to test. And this is what we call just our player tracker. And if you actually look closely, you can see we track more than what I just gave you. And you could feel free to track more if you want to. It may be based off of the equipment that you have available to you and whatever. Like we do some weight room stuff with our players as well. But we have the advantage as well to join with our exercise science department at Bob Jones. And so we'll do some additional testing on a bod pod and on a biodex and some other pieces of equipment. But whatever fits your program, you can take out different rows here and basically just insert information. This is one of our players who is, because of an ACL tear, he was actually around for an extra year. But what you see here is basically every year we test and some additional in there as well for him. But over the course then of those 4 years, if you track every year, you're going to get 4 columns, or if you track more than that, you're going to get basically information on how that kid is progressing. And as a result of that, there's a couple of reasons I love this. As a result of that, I'm able to basically keep up every year to see a guy's improvement. And for a lot of guys, that motivates them because they're able to see their improvement. And if you look closely at this, it's got down there at the bottom, it's got the other guys that are on the team. And so they love when I send this out, because then they can go in and click to see what their friend or what a guy from their class did. And so it actually just kind of builds on the competitiveness as well. So something that serves multiple purposes and isn't very difficult to put together once you get everything set up the way that you want it. And so, for us, just a real practical reason for doing this is that it allows us to make informed decisions then on the types of routines, training routines that the individual player needs. So for a lot of you, sometimes the response I get is, well, I don't need those kinds of numbers. Like, I can just tell John's slow. And so John, hey, John, you're slow. We need to work out on that and get you faster. Well, what exactly needs to be addressed here? Is it something, again, that has to do with their lateral speed? Is it something that has to do with their linear speed, with their vertical jump, with their strength? Like, what is it that needs to be addressed here? And so now you have that data that can back it up. So it allows us just simply answer the question of, what do we need to improve on our players? And that kind of leads me here to this next point here. This is where, for us, having a tool like the VertiMax is really important. And again, I know some of you may be joining this and it may be something where you don't have one, or maybe some of you, you're thinking about purchasing one. Okay, what are the advantages here? But for us, being able to have that piece of equipment allows us to be able to use that tool to do some things that otherwise it may take additional resources or additional people or even additional equipment. And again, we've had this thing for basically, I was talking with Jesse before, and I think probably we've had a VertiMax for 7 or 8 years. And over the course of those 7 or 8 years, it has definitely paid for itself. And there are other benefits that I'll mention as we go through this. But, the bottom line is, it's a tool that allows us to address their strength, their speed, their explosiveness, even their skill. And obviously, all of those things are important to be a good basketball player. And so a lot of times I'll hear, well, I don't need that. We can do all that in the weight room. Yeah, you can do all of these things in other places. But for us, what it allows us to do is really maximize our time and address all of those things in a very particular workout. And it's not the only thing we do. We do the weight room. We do the other stuff as well. But this, again, the key word here is it's a tool, and it's a very important tool for our program, and one that we've found to be very helpful for our players, and one that they really enjoy. So as this relates to the VertiMax itself, that's kind of what I want to focus on here. We're able to practice on the court with basketballs in hand. We roll the VertiMax out, we roll the Raptor out. For us, that idea that time is priceless. I know we all, as coaches, we wish we just had more time. We have more time. We have more time. Well, again, I'm constantly thinking, how can I accomplish as many things as possible in the 45 minutes that I have with this kid, or in the hour that I have with this kid? And so it allows me to address things that we would typically maybe have to spend 30 minutes in the weight room for, or, as the picture sees up here. Yeah, I can do that kind of stuff with a rubber band, but now I got to have somebody that's sitting on the floor, and I'm getting old. I don't want to sit down on the floor and hold that band every single time a kid needs to do whatever. So basically, again, it's just a tool that allows us to do a lot of things at the same time. So here's the thing that I would encourage you: is you're like, okay, I'm buying this, I'm into this, or I have one of these and I want to know how to use this. This is what I typically see. I typically see somebody on the platform jumping up and down, and it doesn't necessarily relate to what I just got done talking to you about. My main question that I want to ask you, and that you need to be thinking about here at the very beginning, is, what do you want to accomplish with this? And if I can put it in a statement, you need to train what you want to improve. And this seems like something that's kind of understood in the context of strength training, and particularly weight training. However, when I see videos on social media, I see somebody using the VertiMax, just, let me put it this way, like, if you own a Ferrari and all you did was take your kid to school, like, there's so much more that you can use a Ferrari to do. There are so many other things that you can use a VertiMax to do other than just having them stand on a platform jumping up and down. And I know that the promise that the people at VertiMax have made with their promises is, we're going to help you, or we can help you improve your speed and your explosiveness and your conditioning. But the caveat is, if you want to improve those things, then you have to train a certain way. You can't just jump on the platform and jump up and down. So if you want to, the areas that we just addressed here, if you want to train for explosiveness, then you're going to need to have like bursts of speed. I want to have a drill where a player goes from that stop to start with an explosive movement. I won't want to do a drill where a player is just moving at one speed back and forth on the VertiMax the entire time. I want to do drills, conditioning drills, where I'm training for stamina if I want to do something like that. If I want them to do stamina, then I want to use a drill like this one. This is our closeout drill that we do with our guys. It's really just continuous movement. It's a pretty consistent, continuous movement over and over with the same kind of reps. He's just running up the line, lateral, and then diagonal back, running up the line, lateral, diagonal back. There's not a lot of explosiveness here. There's not a lot of, change of speed. There's just slight change of directions and over and over and over. So with all of those things in mind here, as I organize my workouts, I'm asking myself several questions. The first one, what are you training? Am I wanting this player to work on explosiveness? Am I wanting them to work on their speed, their conditioning? And I, in particular, I go even deeper than that. I'm actually organizing their workouts based off of, okay, today is linear explosiveness and speed workouts. All right. Our workout on Wednesday is lateral explosiveness and speed. All right. Our workout on Friday is our third one for the week is going to be on vertical explosiveness and stamina. So the question, what are you training, is super important, because otherwise you just get on there. And again, I want to improve numbers. Okay. What numbers do you want to improve? Then we need to address how you're moving in those movements with the VertiMax to improve those techniques here. There's one other example that I give with this. Sometimes I did this when I was 30, so it's just probably about 7 or 8 years ago. But I got on the VertiMax and I was like, if I can do this at 30, or I don't remember how old I was, 30, 33, something like that. If I can do that in my 30s, then these 18-year-old kids can see some improvement. And I was able actually to improve my vertical in just about 5 to 6 workouts by about 2 inches. I took about 0.6 of a second off of my 3/4 court speed. But I didn't see improvement in a couple other areas. My vertical jump, just straight standing vertical, didn't really improve. But when I went back and thought about and looked at the things that I was training, I didn't do workouts. I didn't do exercises to address those specific types of movements. So I didn't see improvement. And again, I know that sounds obvious, but too many coaches will do these exercises or do certain exercises and say, why didn't my numbers in this area, why didn't this kid's numbers improve over here? You have to train. What are you training here? You have to train what you want to see improvement in. So that's the first one. Second thing that I would encourage you to think of as a coach, basketball coach, like what time of year is it? This goes back to what I was addressing at the beginning. Is this preseason? Is this the off season? Is this during the season? For us, this is one of the number one questions I get. I can't see the chat, by the way, right now, but I'm guessing somebody asked this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm guessing somebody, or you're about to ask this, like, how often do I use this, or how often should we do VertiMax training workouts? For us, usually in the off season, we'll go for about 2 to 3 times a week. During the season, it's more like once. There are some weekends where we're not even actually able to do anything just because of the amount of games that we have. For you, that may be different. Like, look at your team schedule and plan accordingly. Obviously, you got game days, you got to think about recovery days, you've got the practice schedules that are in there as well. All of that goes into your planning for your VertiMax workouts. And then finally there, what else are you wanting to train? Do you want to incorporate basketball specific skills into your workouts? I have found that as I do this with younger kids, especially high school kids, I train, even though I'm coaching at the college level, I train a lot of high school kids in the off season because I have more time as a D3 coach. But I'll train some high school kids, and they'll sometimes work harder if they have a basketball in their hands while using the VertiMax, because it's just more fun for them. And so the obvious benefits is that in a case like that, I'm able to train both specific skills, basketball skills, and also physical skills, whether that's explosiveness or, you know, linear speed or whatever it is, or even just conditioning. And again, I'm able to maximize our time with those workouts. This is a sample workout. I know somebody else, you're probably already, if there haven't already been, or you're thinking, man, I wish I could see what that actually looks like. Well, here it is. This is a sample workout. Let me go ahead and put a plug for this right now. This is also available on the VertiMax app for those of you that subscribe. to the app. And another reason why I would encourage you to think about subscribing to the app. As you look at this sheet here, the first workout, it's kind of heavy on lateral movements. The second workout there is primarily vertical training. And I'll talk more about the app in a few minutes here, but this is just one of the resources that you can get. I have actually created a document. It's the same document, but with links to it. And I have hidden YouTube videos that my kids will go in, and I'll send them this PDF. They have it there on their phones. If they don't know what lateral 3-step defensive slides look like, they click on the link. It opens up on their phone. They watch it on the video, or you could watch it on the app if you have this for your team, but you watch it on the app. If you don't know what this is, you can look at it, see it right there on the app, and then you can teach it to your players, and they can know exactly what to do. So again, it can be something very easy that you don't necessarily. I have also found that kids will go and do VertiMax workouts on their own. It's hard enough for us to get them in the gym sometimes, but it's something that's just fun for them, especially if they're able to have a teammate that goes and does this, but they may not know what the drills look like or whatever. And so having the app allows them to be able to see that. All right, as I mentioned before here, when it comes to skills, because probably if you're watching this, you're familiar already with the VertiMax, but okay, I want to see what this looks like with basketballs, or how can I incorporate in this, particularly with basketball training. As I mentioned before, maximizing my time and making it fun for my athletes, those are two of my top goals here, because if I can get them involved, they're going to buy into it. They're going to work harder with this. So in most, if not all of my drills, there's a lot of opportunities there's for them to improve their conditioning, their explosiveness, and their skill. So in the back of my mind, whether or not I tell them this, I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this something so that we're addressing all three of those things? I said before, when we talk about conditioning where I use those longer continuous movements, this drill, I wanted to show you a couple of these examples here, but this drill here is called star defense. So we start with a closeout. So the player is going to start. This is actually with our Raptor, but you could do this with the V8 as well. I start with the player right there close to the free throw line. They sprint and close out. Then I have a 2 or 3 step lateral slide like they're guarding the basketball, and then they turn their hips and sprint to the next spot on the floor there. So again, some explosive movements, but primarily it's mostly just let's get a lot of reps in here. In this one is another basketball specific. It's more of a rip through and then take off, like you're taking off to shoot a layup here. So you could very easily move your Raptor or move your V8 to the top of the key, or close to half court, depending on how tight you have your ropes. And then basically just have them drive to the hoop. So go from a standstill, or if you want to do kind of like that split stance, or even give them a pass. So as the pass is coming, they split stance and take off right away, attack the basket. You can have them go up for a layup. If you have bigger players, go up for a dunk, but just something explosive. Again, if I want them to be practicing that 3-step maximum explosive step, then I can't just having them jumping vertically over and over and over. I need them sprinting, running, taking off, jumping, laying the ball up or dunking it, whatever it is. But you'll see on this one here, he starts with the basketball. Again, you could have them throw it to themselves or just go from a stop to start. So explosive linear, and then explosive up. And I have that take off from the side there, take off, and then take off, right? Last one here that I'll show you, this particular drill actually includes all the things all the elements that I just mentioned, but I'll have them do this maybe like 3 to 4 reps of this. So they've got the resistance, they've got stability training with the Raptor there at half court. He catches the ball. When he catches it, he's going to make a quick explosive move to the rim, that rip through action again. And then we have a finishing move at the end. This is one of those that for us, we incorporate and focus a lot on our finishing moves. You may have different finishing moves that you've taught your players, so you can basically go through different finishing moves. So I've got the defensive slides, catch and rip through, and then a take off and a finish. Like I said, I've got the simple layup here, but you could do like a stride stop or a Euro step or whatever it is that the kid's going to have fun with. But again, just sport specific. I'm incorporating those different elements that I just talked about into now one drill, maximizing my time here. Right now, you might be thinking, as we're kind of approaching here, I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask some questions here, but you might be thinking like, is that it? I wish we had more drills. And I wanted to stop with that because there are a lot more drills, and there's going to be more drills that I'm going to be adding. I'm working with Jesse to add some more of these drills once I'm able to get on the court with my guys and then do some more things here. But all of those are on the VertiMax app. And in addition to that, there's also what we just put up there about a week or two ago are 2 workouts that I've done with players. So you'll be able to hear and watch from start to finish me working with 2 or 3 high school kids and talking through some of the movements. Those of you that train athletes, like using the teaching cues is important, and helping them know how to move. And if you're training for explosiveness, helping them understand I'm not just up and down, up and down, up and down, but actually being able to teach them and coach them through a workout. You'll be able to see 2 different workouts, only about 15 to 20 minutes a piece. So you can see the drills and then see how they're built into a workout. And hopefully at the beginning, you may be thinking like, I kind of know how to use this and I kind of know what it looks like in a workout. But until you get comfortable with it, you can watch those workouts and see how they're put together. And again, see how the kinds of words and coaching that we use with them. And then maybe you can feel comfortable putting together your own thing where you're able to build your own workout. That sheet that I showed you before that has the different workouts on it, that may be something that was good for my guys and for preparing my players for the start of the year, but you may have other things that you want to address with them. Or I've heard of a lot of coaches that you've got, all right, we actually already do this stuff in the weight room. I don't need to do it again on the VertiMax, but the VertiMax will allow us to supplement what we're doing in the weight room. So I only want them to do these 3 or 4 exercises or whatever. Again, that's totally up to you, but hopefully that what we have there on the app will kind of just serve as like a jumping off point for you to be able to kind of start building your own thing and catering it to your own team. So be sure to check that out. I'll mention this just here, last thing, but if you have any questions about any of this, or you want to think about building your own thing, and you want to just kind of maybe run it by somebody or think about something, talk through something, I don't know. But if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to reach out to me. You can shoot me an email, awmiller@bju.edu. Social media is probably just as fast, or maybe sometimes even faster, because you know how this works, but I hate my email on the weekend. But if you want to shoot me a DM on Twitter, I'm active on Twitter and then also on Instagram. My friends are trying to get me on TikTok. I'm kind of there, but not really yet. But if you want to reach out to me, just shoot me a DM on one of those things, and I'm more than happy to help out in any way. But again, hopefully this can be a help to you. Again, just building it and catering it to whatever your program is, just because this is what we do and what works for us. It's something that I've put together over the last, like I said, eight years or so, and that I found that has been helpful for us. But that may not be the case for you guys. So be sure to kind of think about what your goals are for your program and what you're trying to accomplish. And if I can be of any help for you with that, I'd be more than happy to help out. Jesse, that's all I got for right now. But if there are any questions, let me know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I just want to share my screen real quick too, just so everybody sees that area that you're referencing on the app. So if you go to the vertimaxapp.com, you can do that on a website URL, or you can download on iOS or Android. So downloading those apps on your mobile device or going to the website, if you scroll down to this basketball content, you're actually going to see Coach Miller's section within. And this is where he has a ton of those drills. Again, he lists out all these drills, and they're fantastic for the sports specific training. And then with that, he also has his book and PDFs that show those drills as a program format. So I just wanted to point that out. You know, we do have other basketball content here too, but definitely check out his if you get a chance. So, and then just a couple other notes before we dive in the Q&A. We also have some basketball specific content. So if you're a follower of VertiMax, we do also branch out to very specific sports on Instagram and Facebook. So definitely check out the VertiMax basketball Instagram along with the Facebook pages. You can get some great references here. So if you haven't followed this page yet, definitely do so. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick. And then we'll probably open it up. I did get a couple questions throughout the conversation. So we'll go back to those and then we'll open it up to any additional questions as well. So let's start with this one, Coach. Is the VertiMax and the exercises safe for youth? And what type of exercises would you think is suitable for our children?
My wife wanted me to include this, but I actually have hooked up my 4-year-old son to it, and you can adjust the strength. I think Jesse's seen the videos, but you can adjust the tension on it, and so it's something he always asks. I came back. He's 4. He can't read or anything, but I came downstairs today, and he goes, "Oh, you got your VertiMax shirt on," and I said, "How do you know that? It's got the mountain on it." And he associates the mountain with the VertiMax that he does at school. He likes to run, just do some, like, we'll have 1, 2, 3, and he'll lateral sprint out and whatever, or linear sprint, just sprint out and back. And then his thing is he likes to run around the perimeter of the gym. So because of the fact that you can adjust the tension that is given on it, I will warn you with this, like it is another type of strength training. And so they need to be taught the right way to do it, the right way to jump. Even on the platform, I see a lot of people doing it that's going to cause problems. Just like there's a very specific technique for you squatting. There's a very specific technique for you to jump the right way. And a lot of younger kids don't know that. So I've got knees way out over toes and that kind of thing. So I would the main thing I would say is I would caution you on making sure that you're able to teach and communicate, and that whoever you're working with is able to process and understand what you're saying to them, so that they can do whatever the skill is the right way. But just hooking a kid up to, for instance, like the Raptor. By the way, this quick plug here, but you can do a lot of the things that you do with the Raptor on the V8. The Raptor cord allows me to do it longer. The Raptor or the V8 still allows me to do things at a good distance, but I like to have it out on the cord. I'm able to, the mobility of being able to roll it around or whatever. And from that perspective, I can hook up my 4-year-old son or a youth player or whatever. And again, for them, you play on the fun aspect even more so. They have a great time with that. You can fit I have fit up to 5 people. We'll have a camp in the summer times, and the kids from our academy will come down and use it. And I've got 4 kids coming off of each of the corners of the platform, and I've got a kid up on the top doing something, and they have a great time with that. It's one of those things where, especially the younger kids, but even my college kids, they love doing it with a friend. They are able to push their friends and see if they can jump higher to a higher box. If you're doing like the box jumps off the platform or something like that. So, I think age appropriate for a lot of groups, but be very careful about what you're having them do to make sure that you're instructing them to do whatever it is properly, so that nobody gets hurt with it. It's like any
Absolutely.
piece of equipment; it has potential dangers, but just be very cautious.
Yep. And again, with mechanics, fundamentals, break it down without the equipment first, get those movements down, have them be strong, and have them be doing it right before they're ever connected to resistance. And it all just depends on that mobility and what that athlete can accept. So, it's really hard to ever put an age frame to that. But like you said, it could range from our young youth to our pros, and it all just depends. Maybe even a pro is not ready for the equipment quite yet, but you get that sound fundamental mechanics down, and then they are. So yes, we do have quite a few youth that are using the equipment. So, and I'll let you kind of keep rolling. You started this. We had a question come in and it was, which is better for basketball training, the platform or the Raptor? So if you want to just describe how you use those two quickly, and what makes the difference. You're fortunate enough to have access to both, but if it came down to somebody needing to focus on one, maybe you could help there.
Yeah, again, like, what are you training, I think, is the biggest question for us with the V8. Obviously, you have the platform, and I think a lot of people, it's kind of the joke that I was giving you at the very beginning. A lot of people think about the VertiMax as just jumping up and down, and not to minimize that. Like, that's super important in basketball. So being able to use that platform, that's kind of like my go-to. That's the first thing that I do with the guys is on the platform. There's a drill that you'll have to get the app to see it, but it's a rebounding drill that we use up on the platform. You can use it conditioning wise to almost do kind of like jump rope type things with them. So there's a lot that you can do up there on the platform that you can't use with the Raptor. I would encourage you, because I know a lot of you, probably you're sitting here as the coach of the basketball team, the coach of the soccer team, the coach of the whatever other team that you have there at your school. the capabilities of the Raptor for you to just unhook that thing from a fence and take it to another place and hook it up somewhere else. Like the flexibility to be able to use it outside. The different versions that they have with that, we have the one that just has the one band, so I'm limited to just one player at a time, but you can now get the two. So I mean, again, keep in mind, how many people do you want to be training? What are you trying to train here? If you're primarily wanting to use this like skills out on the court, then you may want to just kind of start out with and invest in the Raptor. That way you can wheel it around and have it there and move it around the court. The V8 is a bear to move around out on the out on the court. So if that's, if you're picking that up and moving it somewhere else or wheeling it to a different location, you want to be able to move it very quickly. You got to keep that in mind as well too. So there are pros and not necessarily cons, but there are different pros to each of them. And again, I think you have to keep in mind, what do I want to be training here and what do I want to be working at with my athletes? I love the V8. I'm glad we got it first because, again, I'm able to train a lot of kids. Here's another thing that I didn't mention, but we'll actually use this for station work. So we'll have different stations set up around the gym, and one of the stations is actually, we have two stations. We have a Raptor station, and then we have a V8 station. And when they get to that V8 station, I can have multiple kids going. The thing that I didn't tell you also about the workout that I've designed, I actually designed it so if you go down through that list, one person can be doing one exercise while the other person is doing the other exercise. So for instance, if I set up this last week, I had a 4-man workout that we did with a V8. I had one kid on one side of the platform. I had one kid up on the platform. I had another kid on the other side of the platform doing box jumps. And then I had a kid that was out that was kind of like resting, doing some just squats with a band. And then after their reps went, everybody rotated up a spot. And so again, I'm able to train everybody and go through everything. And basically in a 30-minute workout, I can get them through that thing 2 or 3 times through 3 stations. And we can maximize, again, our time and do different workouts, and they can all be right there together. We did that in a hallway with very little space. And so this allows you to kind of be mobile in where you set up your own workouts, and you don't need much space to be able to do a VertiMax workout and get a lot of kids participating and getting better.
Yeah, and we had a question come in about being a coach and having, about 15 players on their team and addressing that. So I think you just touched base on that, and it's having that circuit related workout where the VertiMax platform or Raptor is a station within the circuit. So the platform allows you to train 5 people at one time, but if you have 15 people, you have 10 others doing a different station or different drill. So a lot of teams may have one platform, and that's suitable for the amount of players that are part of their program. So a couple more questions. They may just miss this, but why don't you touch base one more time, is around programming and how many times you work out on the VertiMax in season versus off season, preseason timeframe.
Yeah, I would ask you, what else are you doing, and what else are you trying to accomplish, and how much time do you have with the kids? So for us, I would try to encourage them to do it at least twice during the off season. 3 times may be asking a little bit too much, because again, I'm also encouraging them to get into the weight room. I don't want to do squats one day and then the next day I'm doing box jumps or something on the platform that's the exact same thing. So use common sense. Like, what am I training? Am I training something on a Monday and then asking them to do the same thing, basically the same movement on the VertiMax the second day? Well, you wouldn't go to the weight room and do squats back-to-back days, would you? So again, use common sense with it and put in, I can't tell you exactly because I don't know what your program schedule is. Like I don't have the availability in the off season necessarily to be able to work with some of these kids because they have work or they're gone or whatever. So like, how many days do you have? So how many days are available? What's your recovery? What else are you requiring them to do? During the season, as I mentioned in the presentation, I know some of you will go back and watch it, but there may be a Tuesday night game that we have and a Saturday game that we have. Well, I don't want them doing a workout on a Monday. That week, probably we would do one VertiMax workout on a Wednesday. That way by Thursday, Friday, they can recover, or I may have them do it on a Thursday if you give them Wednesday off or whatever. Again, what's your program's philosophy on, and what's your game schedule? And then how does this work into that? If you're going to do light, there are still a lot of coaches that don't buy into this or think that because it goes kind of against conventional wisdom. If you do super light resistance, I mean, you got guys like Kobe and LeBron and Jordan. Those guys lift weights on game day. And when people hear that, they're thinking about going and maxing out your bench. Like, no, they're not maxing. They're doing lightweight reps on stuff. It's the same thing here. You may find some benefit in and some studies on doing lightweight VertiMax workout. Jesse, I don't know. You got researchers. You may want somebody to go research that. But like that may be something that if you do on a game day, even you could do
Yeah.
something very light as a workout or warm up in the
Activation.
afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
have quite a few people, especially in the track space. They use the Raptors for activation before their races. So similar to any athlete and getting ready game speed, So a couple questions around this recording. Again, we will have this on the VertiMax app afterwards, probably later this afternoon. If you go to the app and scroll down to the events category, this will be available for everybody to watch. So you'll have that opportunity as well. And then we have a little bit more time. If anybody else has specific questions for Coach, we're lucky enough that he does have a sports science background as well. So maybe there are some questions that aren't very specific to basketball, but you have just an overall general question about training. Feel free to ask those as well.
Here's one more that I would give again for the coaches that coach multiple sports. This is about basketball. I don't coach volleyball. I don't coach golf. I don't coach football, but I've had coaches from all of those sports reach out to me and ask me about this, because if you can coach a sport and you coach it well and you understand the physiology behind things, the body mechanics about how things work, you can help out a player in anything. I mean, I've worked with golf players with this. You hook them up to the platform. I've worked with volleyball players. I've had volleyball players. One girl that she was like 5'6" or something like that, and her dad was so excited. They went off to a tournament. He sent me a text message of her. She's up as tall as the 5'10" girl, jumping up to block a serve or block a attack from the other team. She super pumped because of the work that she was able to do on the VertiMax. Well, I'm not a volleyball coach, but like all I did was thought through movements that they have. It's not that complex, and you can create and help out multiple programs at your school and your athletes by just replicating whatever. So for those of you that are like, I don't know if my basketball team can support this, you go to an athletic director and say, man, there's all this stuff that we can do to help out our athletes across the board. Now you're talking about, for some of you, helping out hundreds of athletes. However much for a Raptor, however much for a V8 doesn't sound very expensive. And Jesse and I have talked about this, and it's what I get a lot from a lot of coaches. We've got one of those, but they're in the closet and I don't know what to do with it. To be honest with you, it's not very difficult to know what to do with it. You just hook them up and teach them the right way to move, and they can get better at things. And hopefully this will help, and hopefully the app will help and that sort of thing. But like I said, when you start looking at what this can do for our program, our athletic department, now all of a sudden it's a tool that actually, if you divide up the costs, it's very, very, very cost effective and cost efficient, and can have huge implications and huge helps. Again, this is not scientifically backed up, but my little research that I've done, I've had a lot of kids improve to the point of like gaining a 1.5 to 2 inches by me just talking them through the right way to jump and putting them through 5 workouts. They do 5 workouts and start jumping the way that I'm telling them to jump the right way. And you could say, oh, well, that's just teaching them the right way to jump. Yeah, but I'm encouraging them, and it's more fun now, and they're listening because they're using the VertiMax. And what kid doesn't want 1.5 to 2 inches on their vertical, or to take off 0.5 of a second on a sprint or whatever like that? So again, it's just a great tool that encourages them and helps them. It motivates them because they have fun with it. So think bigger picture than just jumping, running, or getting better at shooting a layup. We got to think bigger picture with this.
Yep. And your drills do a great job explaining and showing that too. I mean, take that very game-like movement, and it's not just about that forward motion. It's about the forward, lateral, backwards, diagonal, and really applying it there. So, well, I don't see any other questions coming through, Coach, and this was great. I really appreciate you taking your Saturday morning and spending some time with our VertiMax community and sharing some insights. I encourage everybody to follow your platforms, your social media. reach out, follow our VertiMax basketball ones or whatever sport that you're interested in. We have quite a few of those niche programs on Instagram and Facebook. Additional education, we have online courses or in-person live VertiMax certifications, and then again, the app. So, keep looking at these different resources. Being a good coach is always upskilling yourself, and we're here to help with the community, whether it's our equipment or not. We want to be here to support those coaches and trainers and parents that are taking time and investing in their athletes. So, again, thank you everybody for joining. We're going to put this up on the app later this afternoon. So if you want to rewatch it, get coaches' drills and program, check it out. And hopefully, you got something out of this little webinar we hosted. So thank you, Coach. And I appreciate everybody. I'm going to hit stop on the recording, and feel free, you support at vertimax.com or reach out to Coach and we can answer any other questions.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.